I'm Elijah Thompson, 68 years old, and until 3 months ago, I thought I knew everything about my wife Katherine after 42 years of marriage. Then her lawyer revealed I was the sole heir to her $40 million estate that I never knew existed. When my son Adam found out, he demanded I hand over everything. I refused, and what happened next shattered our family forever. If you're watching this video, I'd love to know where you're tuning in from. Please hit that like button and subscribe if you want to hear more stories about unexpected family betrayals that changed lives forever. Katherine and I met in 1975 at Joe's Diner on the outskirts of Portland. I was 23, just starting out in construction, stopping in for coffee after a 12-hour shift. She was working the late shift as a waitress, her auburn hair tied back, laugh lines already forming around her eyes, though she was only 21. I came back every night for a week before I got the courage to ask her out. Our first date was nothing fancy. I took her to the state fair, bought her cotton candy, and won her a small teddy bear at the ring toss. Katherine seemed enchanted by everything, the carousel lights reflecting in her eyes. I didn't understand then that she was experiencing something new. Years later, she mentioned it was her first state fair, but I never thought much about it. We were married 6 months later in a small ceremony. My parents came, but Katherine said her family was not in the picture. I assumed they had passed away or there was some falling out. She never seemed comfortable talking about them, so I learned not to ask. We rented a 1-bedroom apartment above a hardware store, saved every penny. I worked construction while Katherine kept waitressing at first, then took accounting classes at the community college. When our son Adam was born in 1978, we were still living paycheck to paycheck. Katherine handled our finances completely. She had a way with numbers, stretching dollars further than I thought possible. Occasionally, she'd announce we had enough saved for something special: a used car, a weekend trip to the coast, a down payment on our modest 3-bedroom home in '82. I never questioned where the money came from. I assumed she was just good with our budget. There were signs, looking back. The mysterious phone calls she'd take in another room. The occasional business trips that started when Adam was in elementary school. She'd say they were for accounting conferences or financial seminars. I was proud of her ambition, but never pride. We had an understanding. I trusted her completely. Our home was comfortable but modest. We never struggled, but we certainly weren't wealthy by any standard. Adam went to public school, played baseball in the local league. Katherine never showered him with expensive gifts, taught him the value of working for what he wanted. When Adam wanted a bike at 10, she helped him start a paper route to earn half the cost before we contributed the rest. As Adam grew older, something shifted. In high school, he became more distant, especially with Katherine. I chalked it up to teenage rebellion. He got accepted to a private university with a partial scholarship, and Katherine said we'd found a way to cover the rest. Again, I didn't question it, assuming she'd been saving all those years. Adam rarely came home during college. When he graduated and took a job at a marketing firm in Boston, his visits became even more infrequent. Phone calls were brief, holidays sometimes skipped. Katherine seemed to accept this with a quiet resignation that puzzled me. Now I wonder if she knew more than she let on. Throughout our marriage, Katherine maintained separate accounts alongside our joint checking. She called it her business account, and I respected her independence. We never fought about money, so why question it? Our 42nd anniversary passed quietly last year. We celebrated with a dinner at home, reminiscing about our life together. Katherine seemed more reflective than usual, holding my hand across the table with an intensity that should have told me something was wrong. The diagnosis came 2 weeks later: pancreatic cancer, stage 4. The doctors gave her 6 months, but Katherine was gone in 4. Those final weeks I barely left her side. Adam flew in twice, awkward and uncomfortable around his dying mother. During one visit, I found them in intense conversation that stopped abruptly when I entered the room. Katherine looked troubled, Adam defensive. When I asked about it later, she just said they were making peace. Katherine passed away on a Tuesday morning in early spring. The cherry trees we'd planted together 30 years ago were blooming outside our bedroom window. I was holding her hand when she took her last breath, whispering, "I've always loved you exactly as you are, Elijah." I thought she meant despite my flaws. Now I wonder if she meant despite my modest means and simple ways. After the funeral, which Adam left early claiming work commitments, I rattled around our house alone, 42 years of memories in every corner. Katherine's clothes still in the closet, her gardening gloves still on the porch, her side of the bed still made exactly as she'd left it. I couldn't bring myself to change anything. In those first weeks, grief was a physical presence, sitting heavy on my chest each morning when I woke up alone. The call from Thomas Jefferson came 3 weeks after the funeral. Yes, that was really his name, Thomas Jefferson, attorney at law. He said Katherine had named him executor of her estate, and could I please come to his office downtown? I assumed it was formalities, paperwork for our house, maybe her retirement accounts. Katherine had always handled those things. His office occupied the entire top floor of one of Portland's tallest buildings. The receptionist led me through gleaming hallways to a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Thomas was a distinguished man in his 60s, with silver hair and wire-rimmed glasses. He offered his condolences before opening an elegant leather portfolio. "Mr. Thompson," he began, "I've been Katherine's attorney for 30 years. What I'm about to tell you may come as a shock." He slid a document across the table. "Your wife was the sole owner of Westlake Industries, a commercial real estate development company with properties across the western United States. The current valuation stands at approximately $40 million. I actually laughed. It had to be a mistake. My Katherine? The woman who clipped coupons and bought clothes on clearance? Who drove the same Honda for 15 years because it still runs fine?" Thomas wasn't smiling. Katherine came from considerable family wealth, the Westlakes of Seattle. She rejected that lifestyle as a young woman, but she never rejected her business acumen. She built this company from her inheritance, working remotely, using intermediaries when necessary. My mind raced back through our marriage. The separate phone line in her home office, the locked file cabinet I never questioned, the trips that increased as Adam got older, her laptop that she always closed when I entered the room, not secretively, just finishing her work. Why wouldn't she tell me? My voice sounded hollow in the plush room. Thomas adjusted his glasses. Katherine valued authenticity above all else. She believed wealth changed how people saw her. With you, she found someone who loved her for herself, not her money or family name. She didn't want to risk changing that. He pushed another document forward. "Katherine's will is very specific. You are her sole heir. Everything, the company, the properties, the investment accounts, all of it comes to you." I stared at the papers, the legal jargon swimming before my eyes. "What about Adam?" Thomas's expression tightened slightly. "Katherine set up a trust for Adam when he was born. He received $2 million upon graduating college. He's aware of this." The revelation hit me like a physical blow. Adam knew? All this time? The distance, the tension between him and his mother, suddenly it made horrible sense. "There's more," Thomas continued. "Katherine owned a personal residence, a property on Lake Oswego that she maintained but never lived in. It's also yours now." I left Thomas's office with a folder full of papers and a head full of questions. Driving home in my old pickup truck, I passed buildings I now apparently owned. The modest construction worker, heir to an empire he never knew existed. It felt like a dream or a cruel joke. At home, I pulled out old photo albums, searching for clues I'd missed. Katherine at Adam's graduation, her simple blue dress and pearl necklace, modest but elegant. Had that necklace cost more than our car? Katherine in our garden, dirt on her knees, smiling at the camera. Was she playing a role, the simple housewife, when she was actually a business tycoon? No. The joy in those photos was real. The woman I'd loved was real. Adam showed up unannounced that evening. For once, his timing seemed genuine, bringing takeout and asking how I was coping. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where we'd had family dinners for decades. "How are you holding up, Dad?" he asked, pushing the containers of Chinese food toward me. "Taking it day by day," I replied, still expecting her to walk through that door. Adam nodded, picking at his food. "Have you handled all the arrangements? The will and everything?" There it was, the real reason for his visit. I studied my son's face, this grown man who looked so much like Katherine around the eyes. "I met with her lawyer today," I said carefully. "Jefferson?" Adam's fork paused halfway to his mouth. "What did he say?" "That your mother was worth $40 million. That she owned a company I never knew existed. That apparently everyone knew but me." I couldn't keep the hurt from my voice. Adam's expression changed subtly. Something calculative entered his eyes. "It's a lot to process. Mom always worried about how you'd handle it if you knew." "Handle what exactly?" He shrugged, too casual. "The wealth. The responsibility. That's why she kept it separate. You were happy with your construction work, your simple life." His words stung, patronizing in their false concern. "And you? You knew all this time?" "She told me when I turned 18, Adam admitted. "Made me promise not to tell you. Said it would complicate things." "And the trust fund? The $2 million you got after college? Were you going to mention that?" Adam had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. "Mom wanted me to have a start in life. It wasn't that much, really. In Boston, $2 million barely buys a decent condo." I didn't recognize this man, my son who'd grown up valuing hard work, now dismissing $2 million as not that much. What had happened to him? "So what happens now?" he asked, trying to sound casual. "With all of Mom's assets? According to the will, they come to me." Adam nodded slowly. "You know, Dad, managing that kind of wealth is complicated. Tax implications, investment strategies. Maybe we should discuss how to handle it together." And there it was. The first move in what would become a calculated campaign. Over the next week, Adam practically moved in. He took a remote work period from his job, claiming he wanted to support me in my grief. But every conversation somehow circled back to Katherine's estate. "Mom would have wanted the company run properly," he'd say, casually dropping business terms I didn't understand. Or, "Have you thought about what you're going to do with the Lake Oswego house? It's really too big for one person." I hadn't even visited the house yet. Couldn't bring myself to see this secret life Katherine had maintained. Adam brought his wife Jessica for dinner that Friday. I'd met her only 3 times before, at their wedding 5 years ago, and twice during holiday visits. She was stylish in that effortless, expensive way, blonde hair perfectly highlighted, nails professionally manicured. They arrived in a new luxury SUV I hadn't seen before. "This house has such charm," Jessica said, glancing around our modest living room. "So many memories for you, I'm sure." Throughout dinner, she and Adam exchanged looks whenever I mentioned keeping things as they were for now. When I mentioned returning to my construction company part-time, just to keep busy, Jessica actually laughed. "But you don't need to work anymore," she said, as if explaining something to a child. "You could travel, see the world. Adam says you and Katherine never even went to Europe." "We went where we wanted to go," I replied. "National parks, road trips across the country." "How quaint," she murmured. After Jessica went upstairs to make a phone call, Adam leaned forward. "Dad, there's something I need to discuss with you. It's a bit awkward." I braced myself. "Go ahead. I'm in a bit of financial trouble." He wouldn't meet my eyes. "Made some investments that didn't pan out. Jessica doesn't know how bad it is." "How bad is it?" "About 800,000. He said it quickly, like pulling off a bandage. "The trust fund's gone. I've got creditors calling. Some of them aren't exactly patient types." I was stunned. "Gambling debts?" He flinched. "Investment opportunities. High-risk, high-reward situations." "Gambling," I repeated. "Does your mother know? Did she know?" His expression hardened. She refused to help. Said I needed to learn the consequences of my actions. "That's not what family does, Dad. Family helps each other." I thought about Katherine's journal that Thomas had given me, which I'd been reading each night. She'd written about her concerns regarding Adam's financial decisions, his sense of entitlement that had developed despite their efforts to raise him with values. The next day, Adam brought up the company again. Mom would have wanted me involved in Westlake Industries. I have the business degree, the connections. She had 30 years to make you part of the company, I pointed out. She chose not to. His face darkened. Because she never gave me a chance to prove myself. The real shock came when my sister Paula called from Arizona. Elijah, is everything okay? Adam called saying you're not doing well. Something about making concerning financial decisions, possibly memory issues? I was speechless. My own son was laying groundwork to challenge my competence. Things came to a head at dinner a week later. Adam arrived without Jessica, agitated and barely touching his food. Dad, we need to settle this estate business. I've spoken with a financial advisor who specializes in wealth management for seniors. For seniors? I repeated. For people who suddenly come into wealth without the experience to manage it, he corrected smoothly. The point is, we need to protect Mom's legacy. The simplest solution would be to transfer the majority of the assets to me. I'll make sure you're comfortable for life, of course. I set down my fork. And if I don't think that's what Katherine wanted? Adam's facade cracked. Mom didn't know what she was doing toward the end. The cancer, the medications. Jefferson took advantage of her condition. Thomas Jefferson has been her attorney for 30 years. And never once mentioned to you that your wife was worth $40 million? Adam laughed bitterly. Some attorney, some marriage. The comment stung precisely because it echoed my own doubts. Had I really known Katherine? Had our marriage been built on a foundation of secrets? I need time to think, I said finally. Time isn't something I have, Dad. Adam's voice turned cold. I told you I have debts. Serious people expecting payment. Gambling debts aren't my responsibility, Adam. No? What about your responsibility as a father? To protect your son? He stood up, chair scraping loudly. I need $10 million. Not all of it, just a quarter. You'll still have more money than you could ever spend. The answer is no, Adam. I'm respecting your mother's wishes. His face contorted with rage. Her wishes? She lied to you for 42 years. She lied to everyone, playing middle-class housewife while sitting on millions. And now you're going to respect her wishes? You have no idea who she really was. I knew exactly who she was, I said quietly. The money doesn't change that. Adam grabbed his jacket. This isn't over. I'm meeting with lawyers tomorrow. We'll see what a court has to say about a husband who suddenly inherits everything while the only child gets nothing. Especially when that husband might not be in his right mind. The threat hung in the air between us. You do that? Challenge the will? Claim I'm incompetent? Your own father? You're forcing my hand. He walked to the door, turned back. One last chance, Dad. Do the right thing. I am doing the right thing, I said. Just not the thing you want. Adam slammed the door so hard, a framed photo fell from the wall. Katherine and Adam at his high school graduation, both smiling. The glass cracked right between them. 2 days after our confrontation, I went grocery shopping, trying to maintain some normalcy in my increasingly chaotic life. I was gone maybe 2 hours. When I returned, my key wouldn't turn in the lock. Confused, I tried again, jiggling the handle. Nothing. I walked around to the back door. Same problem. Looking through the kitchen window, I could see new deadbolts had been installed. I pulled out my phone, found a text message from Adam. Until you come to your senses about the money, consider this motivation. You can stay in a hotel. God knows you can afford it now. My own son had locked me out of the home I'd owned for 35 years. The home where I'd raised him. The home where Katherine and I had built our life together. I sat in my truck, hands shaking with a mixture of disbelief and fury. I could call the police, sure. But then what? Have my son arrested? Create an even bigger rift? And what would that solve in the long term? The temperature dropped as evening approached. I had nowhere to go, no family nearby, and I wasn't about to call friends and explain this humiliating situation. Pride can be a dangerous thing, but it was all I had left. I spent that night in my truck, parked at the 24-hour grocery store lot, reclined in the driver's seat with my jacket as a blanket. At 68, my back protested vehemently. I watched the store's fluorescent lights buzz and flicker, wondering how my life had unraveled so completely in just a few weeks. Morning brought a knock on my window. A police officer peered in, hand resting casually near his holster. "Sir, we've had a report of someone loitering in the parking lot," he said when I rolled down the window. I straightened up, wincing at the pain in my neck. "Just resting, officer. I'll move along." He studied my face. "Mr. Thompson? Elijah Thompson?" I was surprised he knew me. "Yes? I'm Officer Jackson. My dad worked with you on the Madison Avenue project back in 2003. You came to our house for barbecues." He frowned. "Sir, why are you sleeping in your truck?" The kindness in his voice nearly broke me. I explained the situation as briefly as I could. Officer Jackson shook his head. "That's criminal. Changing locks on a property owner is illegal eviction. We can go there right now, have a locksmith open it up. And then what? My son comes back, changes them again. We keep escalating this?" I sighed. "There has to be another way." "Well, at minimum, you need somewhere to stay." Officer Jackson hesitated. "The lawyer mentioned another property? Might be time to check that out." I had been avoiding the Lake Oswego house, seeing it as a symbol of Katherine's secret life. But Officer Jackson was right. It was my house now, legally, and I needed shelter. He followed me there, just to make sure everything's okay, he said. Lake Oswego was Portland's prestigious suburb, old money, and new nestled against the shoreline. The address led us down a private drive lined with ancient oak trees, opening to a stunning craftsman-style mansion overlooking the water. "Wow," Officer Jackson whispered beside me. "And your son wants this too, huh?" Can't blame him for trying, but he could blame Adam, and so could I. This wasn't about appreciation for architecture. This was about greed, pure and simple. A lockbox hung by the front door. Thomas had given me the code, which I now punched in with trembling fingers. The key inside unlocked massive double doors that opened into a soaring entryway. Hardwood floors gleamed in the morning light, streaming through windows that showcased breathtaking lake views. "You good from here, Mr. Thompson?" Officer Jackson asked. "I can stay if you want." "I'll be fine," I assured him. "Thank you for your help." After he left, I wandered through the house in a daze. 5 bedrooms, each with its own bathroom. A kitchen that would make professional chefs envious. A library with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. And everywhere, touches of Katherine. Books she'd mentioned loving. Artwork in the style she'd always admired. Colors she'd been drawn to but had never used in our modest home. At the end of a hallway, I found her study. Unlike the rest of the house, this room felt lived in. A desk with a computer, filing cabinets, framed photos, many of us together, some of Adam growing up. I sank into her chair, overwhelmed. In the center desk drawer, I found a sealed envelope with my name written in Katherine's elegant handwriting. Inside was a letter, dated just weeks before her diagnosis. "My dearest Elijah," it began. "If you're reading this, then Thomas has explained everything, and you're probably feeling confused, maybe even betrayed. Please believe that everything between us was real. The money wasn't what mattered. You loved me for me, not for a family name or a bank account. That's why I married you, why I've loved our life together exactly as it was. I kept Westlake Industries separate to protect what we had. I've watched wealth destroy relationships, create entitlement, change good people. I never wanted that for us. Maybe that was selfish. Maybe you deserve to know. But I made the choice I thought would preserve what mattered most, our genuine connection. As for Adam, I fear money has already changed him, despite our efforts. The trust fund was a mistake. I've tried to guide him back to the values we taught him, but he resists. He sees wealth as the answer to happiness, not realizing it's often the question. I'm leaving everything to you because I trust your judgment. You'll know what to do, and if Adam reacts badly, there's a blue folder in the bottom left drawer. Victoria Chen's contact information is inside. She's been my closest friend and business partner for 20 years. She'll help you navigate what's coming. I've loved you completely, Elijah. That has always been the greatest truth of my life. Katherine. I found the blue folder exactly where she said it would be. Inside was another envelope labeled, "If Adam contests the will," and Victoria Chen's business card. Katherine had anticipated everything. That night, I slept in the master bedroom of a mansion I never knew my wife owned, surrounded by luxury that felt alien yet somehow familiar, touches of Katherine everywhere. I dreamed of her, sitting across from me at our kitchen table, laughing at something I said. In the dream, I asked her, "Why didn't you tell me?" She just smiled and replied, "You always knew who I was, Elijah. The rest was just details." The next morning, I called Thomas Jefferson from Katherine's study. "I'm at the Lake Oswego house," I told him. "Adam locked me out of my home." Thomas sighed heavily. I was afraid something like this might happen. Katherine was concerned about Adam's reaction. That's why she prepared the contingency plans. "The blue folder," I said. "Victoria Chen." "Yes. Victoria has been running the day-to-day operations of Westlake Industries for years. She and Katherine were like sisters. She knows everything." Katherine's letter mentioned instructions. "If Adam contests the will." What did she mean? I heard papers shuffling on his end. Katherine documented Adam's gambling problems, his requests for money beyond his trust fund, even an attempt to access company accounts without authorization. She hoped he'd change, but she prepared for the worst. "And the worst is happening," I said quietly. "It appears so. I suggest you meet with Victoria as soon as possible. She's expecting your call." Victoria Chen's office was in the same downtown building as Thomas's, just 2 floors below. She was a striking woman in her early 60s, with short salt and pepper hair and penetrating dark eyes. Her handshake was firm, her expression sympathetic, but not pitying. "I've been wanting to meet you for 20 years, she said, gesturing for me to sit. "Katherine spoke of you constantly." I didn't know what to say to that. This woman had shared a significant part of my wife's life that I'd known nothing about. "She loved you very much," Victoria continued. "You were her safe harbor, her reality check. While we were dealing with million-dollar negotiations and corporate politics, she'd tell stories about your garden, your neighborhood block parties. The real world, she called it." "Was any of it real?" I asked, the question that had been haunting me. "Our life together?" Victoria's expression softened. "More real than anything in my world. Katherine refused to let money define her. That's why we connected. I came from nothing, built my own success. She was trying to escape the golden handcuffs of her family legacy." She leaned forward. "Now, about Adam." For the next hour, Victoria laid out what Katherine had documented over the years. Adam's gambling problem had started in college. Small at first, then escalating. He'd burned through his trust fund in 3 years. He'd approached Katherine multiple times for loans that were never repaid. The final straw was his attempt to forge Katherine's signature on company documents to secure a loan against Westlake assets. She could have pressed charges, Victoria said. Instead, she covered the loss and cut him off. Tough love, she called it. She was still hoping he'd hit bottom and get help. "And now he's targeting the entire estate," I said. Victoria nodded. "We anticipated this. The question is, what do you want to do?" I thought about Adam, my son, the little boy who once looked at me like I hung the moon. Somewhere along the way, we'd lost him to something dark and consuming. "I want to help him," I said finally. "But I won't enable his addiction or his entitlement." Katherine was right about tough love. Victoria smiled, the first real smile since I'd arrived. "That's exactly what Katherine hoped you'd say." She pulled out her phone. "Adam's been calling the office all morning. Apparently, he went to your house with moving trucks and found it empty. Now he's threatening to come here." "Let him," I said, surprising myself with my resolve. Victoria's eyes gleamed with approval. "I was hoping you'd say that too." We didn't have to wait long. Less than an hour later, The receptionist called to announce that Adam Thompson was demanding to see Miss Chen immediately. Victoria asked her to send him in. Adam burst through the door, Jessica trailing behind him looking uncomfortable. He stopped short when he saw me sitting there. "Dad? What are you doing here?" He looked between Victoria and me, confusion evident on his face. "Hello, Adam," Victoria said calmly. "Please, have a seat." "I don't want to sit," he snapped. "I want answers. The house is empty. Where's all Mom's stuff? Where are the files?" "What files would those be?" Victoria asked, her tone innocently curious. Adam faltered, glancing at Jessica. The company files. Documents I need for the will challenge." "You mean these files?" Victoria opened a drawer, pulled out a thick folder. "Katherine's documentation of your gambling addiction? The loans you never repaid? The forged documents? Those files?" The color drained from Adam's face. Jessica turned to him, shock written across her features. "What is she talking about, Adam? What forged documents?" Adam ignored her, focusing his anger on me. "You're behind this, turning Mom's friends against me. It's not going to work. I have rights as her son." "You received your inheritance," I reminded him. $2 million. What happened to it, Adam? That's none of your business." "It became my business when you locked me out of my home," I said, rising to face him. "When you threatened to declare me incompetent. When you betrayed everything your mother and I taught you about character and integrity." Victoria stood as well. "Adam, 5 years ago you attempted to secure a $4 million loan using forged company documents with your mother's signature. She covered it up to protect you, but everything was documented. If you contest this will, these documents become public record. Your gambling debts, your fraud attempt, all of it." Jessica gasped. $4 million? "Adam, you told me your financial troubles started last year." Adam's confident facade cracked. "It's not what it looks like. I had investment opportunities. Mom never understood business risk." Victoria actually laughed. "Katherine built a $40 million company from the ground up. She understood risk better than anyone I've ever known. What she didn't understand was watching her son destroy himself with addiction." Adam turned to me, desperation replacing arrogance. "Dad, please. These people have poisoned you against me. Mom wouldn't want this." "Your mother," I said quietly, "spent years trying to help you. She covered your debts, protected your reputation, gave you chance after chance. And how did you repay her? By waiting for her to die so you could claim what you thought you were entitled to." Jessica stepped away from Adam, tears in her eyes. "I can't do this anymore. The lies, the secrets." She turned to me. "Mr. Thompson, I'm sorry. I didn't know." To Adam, "I'll be staying with my sister. Call me when you're ready to tell the truth." She walked out, leaving Adam looking suddenly small and lost. "You've ruined my marriage too," he said, voice breaking. "Are you happy now?" "No, son," I replied, the word son catching in my throat. "I'm heartbroken, but I won't stand by and watch you self-destruct any longer." Victoria stepped forward. "Adam, you have two choices. Continue down this path of destruction, contest the will, and face the consequences, or accept help, real help." Adam looked between us, the fight draining visibly from his body. For a moment, I saw a glimpse of the little boy who used to run to me with scraped knees, trusting me to make everything better. "What kind of help?" he asked finally, his voice small. The next day, Victoria took me to Westlake Industries headquarters. The top 3 floors of a building I'd walked past countless times over the years, never knowing my wife's name was on the deed. The staff greeted Victoria warmly, glancing curiously at me. Word had clearly spread that Katherine Westlake's widower had arrived. Katherine was a private person at work, too, Victoria explained as she led me through modern, light-filled offices. Most of the staff never met her in person. She managed remotely, through me and a few trusted executives. In the boardroom, Victoria spread out photographs, blueprints, and documents. "This is what Katherine built. Commercial properties across 5 states, office buildings, retail centers, medical facilities. I looked at the photos, struggling to connect them to the woman who tended her vegetable garden wearing my old flannel shirts. But these aren't just buildings, Victoria continued, pulling out another set of photos. This is what Katherine was really proud of. These images showed people. Children in classrooms, patients in hospital rooms, families moving into apartments. 25% of Westlake's profits go to the Westlake Foundation, Victoria explained. Educational scholarships, medical research, affordable housing initiatives. Katherine never wanted public recognition, but she's funded programs that have helped thousands of people. I picked up a photo of a smiling group of college students. She never told me any of this. Victoria squeezed my shoulder gently. She didn't do it for recognition. She did it because it was right. That's who she was. Over the next hours, Victoria patiently explained the structure of the company, the foundation, the investments. It was overwhelming, but I was determined to understand what Katherine had built, what she'd entrusted to me. What about Adam? I asked finally. What happens now? Victoria's expression turned serious. That depends on him. The rehabilitation facility is excellent. 30 days minimum, longer if needed. Financial counseling, therapy for the underlying issues. After our confrontation, Adam had agreed to enter treatment for his gambling addiction. It wasn't a magical solution, but it was a start. And after rehab? Victoria hesitated. Katherine had a proposal in her contingency plans. If Adam completed treatment successfully, demonstrated commitment to recovery, he could work at the foundation. Entry-level position, closely supervised. A chance to earn trust back while doing meaningful work. I nodded slowly. It felt right, the balance of consequence and compassion that Katherine would have wanted. A knock at the door interrupted us. Thomas Jefferson entered, looking grave. "Jessica is here," he said. "She'd like to speak with both of you." Jessica looked different than she had yesterday. Less polished, more authentic somehow, without her perfect makeup and designer clothes. Her eyes were red from crying. "I needed to tell you what I know," she began, hands twisting nervously in her lap. "Adam's gambling is worse than anyone realizes. He owes money to dangerous people. That's why he was so desperate for the inheritance." She pulled out her phone, showed us texts from Adam to someone named Marco, promising payment soon, mentioning his mother's estate. "There's more," Jessica continued. "Adam told me Katherine promised him the company. That you," she looked at me, "were going to be taken care of but had no right to make business decisions. He said that's why he was so angry, that you were stealing his birthright." Victoria shook her head. Katherine never promised any such thing. In fact, she specifically excluded Adam from company management because of his financial irresponsibility. Jessica wiped away tears. "I'm filing for separation. I can't live with the lies anymore. But I'm worried about him, even now. These people he owes money to, they've made threats." This was a complication Katherine couldn't have foreseen. My son in danger from loan sharks or worse. Whatever his faults, he was still my child. "We'll handle it," I assured Jessica. "Thank you for telling us." After Jessica left, Thomas, Victoria, and I formulated a plan. The foundation would pay off Adam's dangerous debts directly, not a gift to Adam, but protection for the family. In exchange, Adam would sign an agreement accepting the terms of Katherine's will without contest and committing to complete rehabilitation. "It's more than he deserves," Victoria noted. "Maybe," I agreed. "But it's what Katherine would want. Protection first, then accountability." That evening, I returned to the Lake Oswego house that still didn't feel like home. I wandered into Katherine's study again, drawn to the space where she had spent so much of her secret life. On the bookshelves I noticed photo albums I hadn't seen before. Unlike the business files, these were personal. I opened the first one and gasped. Our life together, but from Katherine's perspective, photos I'd never seen. Me working on our first apartment, shirtless, concentrated on measuring a shelf. Me asleep in a hospital chair, newborn Adam cradled against my chest. Me at the beach, laughing as waves crashed around my knees. Katherine had documented our life together, just as carefully as she documented her business empire. In the last album, I found a letter tucked between pages. Different from the one she'd left in the desk, this one was addressed to the Board of Directors, Westlake Foundation. In the event of my passing, it read, "You will meet my husband, Elijah Thompson. He may seem an unconventional choice to guide this foundation's future. He has no business degree, no experience with large-scale philanthropy. What he possesses is something far more valuable: unwavering integrity and genuine compassion. Elijah taught me that true wealth isn't measured in dollars, but in how we treat others. His natural wisdom about what really matters will bring a perspective this foundation needs. Trust him. Learn from him as I have. He will surprise you with his insight, his fairness, and his heart. It has been my life's great privilege to build this foundation with you. My greatest achievement, however, was earning the love of a good man who saw me, not my bank account. It is to him I entrust our future work. Katherine Westlake Thompson." I closed the album, tears streaming down my face. In that moment I finally understood. Katherine hadn't kept her wealth secret out of mistrust. She'd done it to preserve something precious and increasingly rare, a relationship based on genuine connection rather than material concerns. And now she'd entrusted me with her legacy, believing in me completely. The next day, I attended my first foundation board meeting. I felt utterly out of place in my only suit, surrounded by financial experts and philanthropy professionals. But I remembered Katherine's words and spoke from my heart about continuing her vision. To my surprise, they listened. Victoria smiled encouragingly from across the table. This was a new world, but I wouldn't face it alone. 6 months passed. Seasons changed. Wounds began to heal. New routines established themselves. I split my time between the Lake Oswego house and our original home, which I couldn't bring myself to sell. Some nights I needed the comfort of familiar walls, the echo of our simpler life together. The foundation work consumed much of my energy. I brought a different perspective than the financial experts and business strategists. When discussions became too abstract, too focused on numbers, I'd ask, "But how does this help actual people?" Katherine's team seemed to appreciate the grounding influence. Victoria became a valued friend and guide. She knew when to explain complex business concepts and when to simply handle things herself. "Katherine trusted you with the why, not necessarily the how," she'd say with a smile. "The details are my department." Adam completed his 30-day rehabilitation program and voluntarily extended his stay for another 30 days. His therapists reported progress in addressing both the gambling addiction and the underlying issues: entitlement, insecurity, the complicated relationship with his mother's hidden wealth. When he left treatment, Adam moved into a small apartment rather than returning to the luxury condo he'd shared with Jessica. True to the agreement, Adam began working at the foundation in an entry-level position, assisting with grant applications. Victoria assigned him to Angela, the most no-nonsense supervisor on staff, who reported that despite initial resistance, Adam was showing genuine effort. Jessica filed for divorce but maintained contact with me, checking occasionally on Adam's progress. I found unexpected purpose in establishing a new foundation priority: addiction recovery centers in underserved communities. The Katherine Thompson Recovery Initiative, we called it, honoring both her maiden and married names. Something good growing from our family's pain. On a crisp fall morning, I visited Katherine's grave for the first time since the funeral. I'd avoided it, somehow feeling she wasn't really there. But now I brought fresh flowers and a heart full of words that needed saying. "I understand now," I told her granite marker, "why you kept your worlds separate. I'm trying to honor what you built while still being the man you loved. It's not easy, balancing these different realities." I told her about Adam's progress, the foundation's work, my own journey through grief and discovery. "Victoria's been my lifeline," I admitted. "She reminds me of you sometimes. That same quiet strength. She says I remind her of you too, stubborn about the things that matter." The autumn leaves rustled around me, Katherine's favorite season in full display. "I miss you every day," I whispered. "But I'm finding my way." As I turned to leave, I saw Adam standing nearby, his own flowers in hand. He looked different, thinner, less polished, somehow more authentic in jeans and a simple jacket. "Dad," he said hesitantly, "I didn't expect to see you here." "Your mother always loved October," I replied. "Seemed like the right time to visit." Adam nodded, glancing at his mother's grave. "I come every week. Part of my recovery program. Making amends, even to those who can't hear them anymore." We stood awkwardly for a moment, father and son with a chasm of hurt between us. "Would you like some privacy?" I asked, stepping back. "Actually," Adam said, "I'd like to talk to you. After, if you have time." We ended up at a small coffee shop nearby, neutral territory. Adam stirred his coffee endlessly, gathering courage. "I need to apologize," he finally said. "What I did to you was unforgivable. The locks, the threats, all of it. I was desperate and sick, but that's no excuse." "Addiction is powerful," I acknowledged. "Your mother understood that better than I did." Adam's eyes welled with tears. "I miss her. The real her. Not the money or the status. Just Mom." He wiped his eyes quickly. "She tried to warn me about the gambling. Years ago. I wouldn't listen. She never gave up on you," I told him. "Even when she had to step back, she was planning for your recovery." "Victoria showed me Mom's contingency plans," Adam admitted. "The entry-level foundation job was her idea, not yours or Victoria's. She knew exactly what I needed: structure, purpose, accountability." He shook his head in wonder. "Even from beyond the grave, she's still parenting me." We talked for hours, really talked, perhaps for the first time in years. Adam spoke openly about his addiction, how it started as social gambling in college, escalated after a big win, consumed him until nothing mattered but the next bet. He talked about the shame, the lies, how he'd blamed his mother for not bailing him out rather than facing his own responsibility. "I'm rebuilding with Jessica," he said toward the end. "Not romantically, that's over, but honestly. She deserves the truth, and I'm trying to give her that. No more lies." As we prepared to leave, Adam hesitated, then said, "Dad, the foundation work, the recovery initiative, it's good, really good. Mom would be proud of what you're doing with her legacy." "Our legacy," I corrected gently. "She built it, but it belongs to all of us now." Over the next months, Adam and I established a cautious new relationship. Trust rebuilds slowly, like a bone that's been broken and must knit back together, stronger at the fracture point, but never quite the same. The company and foundation continued to thrive under Victoria's expert management, with my input on values and direction. I never became a business expert, but I brought something equally valuable to the table: perspective on what really matters, beyond balance sheets and profit margins. I maintained my modest lifestyle despite the wealth. I still drove my old truck, still wore my comfortable worn jeans, still tended the garden Katherine and I had planted together. These things connected me to our real life together, the authentic love we'd shared. The greatest lesson from this journey wasn't about money at all. Katherine had understood what many never learn. True wealth isn't measured in dollars, but in genuine connections, in being known and loved for who you really are. Money reveals character, but doesn't define it. It amplifies who we already are: our generosity or our greed, our compassion or our selfishness. Katherine had protected our authentic relationship by keeping her wealth separate. In doing so, she'd given me the greatest gift possible: 2 years of being loved for exactly who I was. What would you do if someone you loved kept a $40 million secret? Would you feel betrayed or protected? If you were suddenly wealthy, what would change, and what would you keep the same? I'd love to read your thoughts in the comments below. If this story touched you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life experiences about family, trust, and the true meaning of wealth. Thank you for listening to my journey. May you find authentic connections in your own life, the kind of wealth that truly matters.